continents. At its narrowest point, it is only about 14 kilometers wide. On clear days, people standing on one shore can see the outline of another continent rising through the haze. Wind from the Atlantic pushes into the Mediterranean. Dense water from the Mediterranean flows back beneath it. Two currents collide here, like two eras breathing through the same throat. But it was never only water that passed through this place. For thousands of years, armies, plagues, gold, slaves, oil, grain, fleets, migrants, and the lifespan of entire empires have all been forced through this narrow gate. Rome passed through here. Arab fleets passed through here. The age of Portuguese and Spanish expansion opened from this passage. Britain held it for more than 3 centuries. During the Second World War, it helped decide whether the Mediterranean could continue to survive. Even today, a significant portion of global maritime trade connected to the Mediterranean depends on this opening to the Atlantic. News reports often describe it as an ordinary shipping lane. But on the scale of centuries, it looks more like a breathing tube inserted into the lungs of Europe. And if that tube closes, the West begins to suffocate. The gate between stone and tide. Rock of Gibraltar rises from the sea like a broken gray tooth at the edge of Europe. More than 400 meters high, it stands permanently wrapped in salt wind and mist. Ancient sailors called this place one of the Pillars of Hercules. In Greek mythology, it marked the end of the known world. Beyond it was disorder, darkness, and the unknown. That idea was not entirely fantasy. The Mediterranean is essentially a semi-enclosed sea. Evaporation is intense, while river inflow is limited. Atlantic water continuously enters through the Strait of Gibraltar, helping maintain the Mediterranean's water balance and salinity. Without this opening, the sea itself would slowly shrink over immense spans of time. Here, geography reveals its cruelty for the first time. An entire civilizational region depends on a narrow wound in the earth for survival. In the year 711, Muslim forces crossed the strait from North Africa into the Iberian Peninsula. The region later became known as Al-Andalus. The Arabic phrase Jabal Tariq, meaning Mountain of Tariq, eventually evolved into the word Gibraltar. From that moment onward, the destiny of southern Europe changed direction. Centuries later, Spanish and Portuguese ships sailed through the same waters toward the Atlantic. Silver flowed back from the Americas. The colonial age began to reshape the world. Europe became a global power not because it escaped geography, but because it learned how to control the gates inside it. Empires often believe they survive because of armies. In reality, they survive because they can still breathe through their straits. The lung of an empire. In 1704, during the War of the Spanish Succession, British and Dutch forces captured Gibraltar. For more than 3 centuries afterward, United Kingdom maintained control over the rock. This was never accidental. Before the age of aviation, naval power depended entirely on coaling stations, repair ports, and secure anchor points. Any fleet entering the Mediterranean needed supplies, maintenance, and observation posts. Gibraltar offered all of them at once. It became a steel hook driven into the maritime arteries of southern Europe. During the 19th century, the most important lifeline of the United Kingdom stretched from the British Isles to India. The Mediterranean route was the fastest section of that connection. After the opening of the Suez Canal, Gibraltar became even more vital. Britain needed to control both Gibraltar and Suez at the same time. Without both entrances secured, the Mediterranean could become a sealed trap. On a map, it looked like 2 hands squeezing the same throat from opposite ends. During the First World War, Allied naval forces used Gibraltar to monitor movement across the western Mediterranean. During the Second World War, the stakes became even greater. Nazi Germany developed plans known as Operation Felix, intended to seize Gibraltar and cut Britain off from the Mediterranean entirely. Spain ultimately did not formally enter the war, and the plan collapsed. Many historians believe that if Gibraltar had fallen, British supply routes to Malta and North Africa might have broken apart completely. Sometimes a single rock matters more than a nation. Because nations grow old. Straits do not. The age of oil passed through here. In the 20th century, the cargo moving through the strait changed. It was no longer gold. It was oil. According to transport data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration and international maritime agencies, Massive volumes of crude oil and liquefied natural gas move through the Mediterranean system every day. Energy from the Middle East and North Africa enters through the opening of the Suez Canal, crosses the Mediterranean, and exits again through Gibraltar toward Europe and Atlantic markets. Oil tankers move slowly here. From above, they resemble black insects crawling between continents. Any accident, blockade, or military escalation inside this corridor can send shockwaves through global energy prices within hours. In 2021, the ever-given blockage of the Suez Canal briefly exposed how fragile these systems had become. The accident occurred in Egypt, but the disruption spread rapidly across Mediterranean shipping networks. Analysts estimated that billions of dollars in trade were delayed each day. The deeper danger is structural. Modern civilization has concentrated extraordinary amounts of industrial weight into a handful of narrow passages. The Strait of Hormuz controls the Persian Gulf. The Strait of Malacca connects East Asian manufacturing. And Gibraltar functions as the western exhaust valve of Europe. Fuel, grain, containers, cables, and naval fleets all compress into the same channel. The corridor is physically narrow, but the economic pressure moving through it is continental in scale. This creates a strange condition inside modern civilization. The more advanced the system becomes, the more fragile its breathing points become. The edge between two worlds. From the southern coast of Spain, Morocco feels unsettlingly close. On clear nights, lights from the African coastline are visible across the water. Two civilizations stare directly at each other through a thin layer of salt air. But the economic distance is far greater than the physical one. For decades, migrants and refugees have attempted to cross from North Africa into Europe through the western Mediterranean route. Some travel in inflatable boats. Some disappear during storms. Some are never identified. International migration agencies have repeatedly documented deaths along these crossings. News coverage usually reduces the story to statistics. But what the Strait truly absorbs is accumulated human desperation. Because this place is not only a shipping corridor, it is also the narrowest fracture line between two vastly unequal worlds. Europe's infrastructure, financial systems, and political stability exist only kilometers away from regions struggling with unemployment, instability, and climate pressure. Human beings move toward stability the same way water moves downhill. And geography eventually converts all borders into pressure. Straits are simply the places where that pressure becomes visible first. No one ever escapes geography. Today, Gibraltar still hosts British military facilities. Even after United Kingdom withdrawal from the European Union, disputes surrounding borders, customs, and movement across the territory continue. But the deeper issue has little to do with diplomacy. It is about geography itself. Modern societies often speak as though the digital age has weakened the importance of physical terrain. Satellites, financial systems, and the internet appear to transcend borders. Yet the structure underneath globalization remains brutally physical. Cargo ships still require narrow sea lanes. Energy still moves through fixed maritime routes. Naval power still depends on ports. Civilization did not escape geography. It merely concentrated more weight onto fewer corridors. From ancient Phoenician vessels to modern supertankers nearly 400 meters long, history has repeated the same movement for thousands of years, crossing this gate. The difference is that the world behind the gate grows heavier every decade, and the strait itself never becomes wider. Closing. On satellite images at night, the Strait of Gibraltar appears as a glowing wound between continents. Ships form long chains of light moving between the Atlantic and the Mediterranean, like blood cells traveling through an artery. In the coming decades, energy systems may change. Trade routes may shift. New technologies may emerge. But geography will remain where it has always been. The continents will not move apart. The storms will still gather in the same waters. And the narrow gates between worlds will continue deciding which civilizations can breathe. History is filled with empires that believe they controlled the world. Most of them only controlled a doorway for a while, and the doorway always outlived them.